Hello, you wonderful soul. Is there life after death, or are we reborn? Well, I was initially taught that reincarnation does not exist and that we only have this one life. And that just didn't feel right to me. I spent my whole life searching for evidence that there is indeed life after death or possibly incarnations. I will delve into the amazing insights and experiences I have gathered on this topic. It's a very exciting subject, so stay tuned. My name is Riedel. I have been following the shamanic path for almost 20 years, and I am initiated in the tradition of the Incas and the tradition of the Blackfoot. Over the years, I have had the opportunity to get to know many different systems and belief systems, whether it be Christian mysticism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and ultimately shamanism. All have integrated the teaching of incarnations into their systems. And the interesting thing is that these systems, despite knowing nothing about each other, arrived at the same truth. As an example on the topic of incarnations, over the years I gradually gathered piece by piece, which I could then reassemble over the next few years into a larger picture that now, from my current perspective, makes more sense to me. And most importantly, of course, the teachings of the various masters from these different systems. That has greatly shaped my worldview, guiding me in the direction in which I now also teach others. And the incredibly amazing thing that struck me when I was studying the biography of a very particular master, Omram Michael Ivanhoff, was that he also indeed had contact with another master whom I had been studying for years before. And this other master comes from another system. His name is Babaji Nagaraj. And this master is also known as Maha Avatar. And this specifically means that a master has the ability to step out of the wheel of reincarnation and is constantly connected with the highest divine source. And this avatar decided to come to this earth and incarnate, even though he didn't have to, but he chose to. He does this to help humanity in its ascension process. Then there is the Maha Avatar who, in terms of hierarchy, stands above the other avatars, if you will, and possesses very, very impressive abilities. And I was able to read that in the autobiography of a yogi. It fascinated me. I can highly, highly recommend the book to you. So, by Paramahamsa Yogananda, Autobiography of a Yogi. And this Maha Avatar, this Babaji, indeed decided approximately 2,000 years ago to remain on this planet out of love for humanity. And he is so incredibly advanced that he even helps people from the Himalayas in the region with his physical body, which is more remarkably immortal. And today, still today, there are occurrences where he manifests himself or people make pilgrimages to him. And if he allows it, so to speak, then people find him, but most do not find him. And that really fascinated me enormously because, of course, I had independently dealt with these systems and topics, including shamanism, only to find out years later that at the highest level, everything is essentially the same. The only difference is that we give the truth a different name. Depending on the cultural roots you come from or the cultural background you have, you might refer to various things somewhat differently, but that's completely normal. And again, I repeat, this is where you realize just how limited human language is when it comes to describing or even wanting to describe such states. And most of the time, it's only through comparisons or metaphors that one can understand what this is all about. And to bring everything full circle, there is indeed also a master named Daskalos who is more rooted in Christian mysticism. This master also taught his students that the doctrine of incarnations is deeply and firmly rooted in Christian mysticism. And at this point, I also understood that Christian mysticism is not tied to the church. And in the past, the church decided that these specific pieces of information about the incarnation would not be included in the Bible. Yes, then maybe you can figure out for yourself why the church might not have wanted the teaching of incarnations to be included in the Bible. And that's exactly where I just leave a question mark. When I started following the shamanic path, I also received various initiations there, during which experiences from past incarnations were revealed to me. And at first, I thought I was imagining it, yes, and I wanted to dismiss it again because I am very, very skeptical as well. But when I actually talked to my wife, Irina, about it, because she was also my teacher before, she told me about her initiation and her incarnation experiences. And the astonishing thing was that this memory she just had matched mine exactly, incredibly. And I really had complete goosebumps because we knew nothing about each other beforehand. Each of us wrote it down for ourselves after this initiation. and there were years between the initiations. Yes, and that's why it was so astonishing that these experiences I gathered exactly matched those of my wife. The longer I followed this shamanic path, I was also taught that children up to the age of 6 can remember their incarnations. And then I did some more research and also had some testimonials from participants or clients that children sometimes indeed had these memories, could remember very specific places, or even recognized very specific people from their past incarnations. And so for me, this is indeed again proof that incarnations do exist. Unfortunately, it is the case that children, starting from the age of 7, increasingly lose these abilities of memories, and sometimes they may even have extraordinary abilities, but they gradually lose them and adapt more to everyday life. And in the end, when you are an adult, you can barely even remember the access you had as a child. Yes, maybe you also know the saying, in the next life everything will be better. Yes, that's what many people believe, that everything will automatically get better. But from a shamanic perspective, it's not like that at all. And that's why everything we can do in this life is to change what you wish for or where you want your life to develop, to free yourself from the issues of your ancestors or the heavy burdens that weigh you down, and to accept life's lessons in order to grow from them and gradually transform yourself. And only then can things get better in the next life, even if we don't manage to achieve everything in this life, even if we work on ourselves but perhaps can't fully implement everything. So we are all called to engage with the issues of our current life and to refine our personality piece by piece. And maybe you also know the saying, the last shirt has no pockets. In our society, we are programmed to accumulate or consume material things and then wonder why we often feel lost, or why owning more things doesn't make us happy. All we can take with us are our experiences and our own development. And when I speak about personality refinement, it goes far beyond the concept of personality development. By my definition, personal development is purpose-driven. That means, for example, to achieve a better life now, such as more prosperity or greater financial abundance, or attracting a new partnership into your life, it is taught exactly for that purpose, so that you can arrive there. It's about changing your personality in such a way that you can automatically attract those things externally, yes. And in the refinement of personality, the goal is spiritual ascension, to awaken, to realize oneself, and to align ourselves with our own divinity. Yes, it is about aligning ourselves with the light. And when the time comes for us to shed our physical body, in other words, to die, we no longer need to be afraid, because we already know the way home, even during our lifetime. And that is exactly what I teach in my shamanic online training, where personality refinement plays a very significant role. And I know that, of course, there are other viewpoints as well. For example, the classical medical approach is that our body functions mechanically. Specifically, it means that through electrical impulses, synaptic connections, and enzyme releases, we perceive or recognize various effects in the body, and we only react to this enzyme cocktail. And the energetic or spiritual approach is that our physical body is an instrument that we can use by diving into it and also by leaving it again. And it is also completely normal because it happens regularly when we sleep. There we leave our physical body with our astral body, and that's why we have no physical perception when we are in deep sleep. This means quite specifically that in truth, we are actually the astral body, which, when we are conscious, in our waking consciousness, is also contained here in our physical body. And when we are in the dream state, this astral body leaves the physical body, and that's why we don't feel anything anymore. But that means on the other level, we are of course on the move. That means we still perceive things, even if we might be on another planet or perceive other things. Yes, so depending on what it ultimately is that you experience there, yes, we still perceive that. And that's why I always say our consciousness is not bound to our body. We can shift our consciousness, we can travel to other dimensions with our astral body, or even visit other places here on Earth. Yes. Over the years, I had spoken with many people who also had near-death experiences, and during these experiences, they left their bodies and were immersed in infinite love, in a sense of grandeur, and then did not want to return, but only wanted to go into the light. This is what many have also described. And the wonderful thing is that I myself also had the opportunity to experience this during various shamanic ceremonies, when I left my body and was immersed in an infinite soul consciousness, full of unconditional love, full of grandeur and omnipotence. And that was one of the greatest gifts I have ever received in my life. And I am still so grateful and so humble to have been able to experience something like that. With this, I want to encourage you that there is more than just what you can touch, that there is more than perhaps the teaching of incarnation, but that in truth, we are beings of light who are temporarily having a human experience and simply need to remember that we can find our way home. Yes, and those were my thoughts on this topic. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to pass it on to others or share it. And if you want more insights or a glimpse into my daily routines, just follow me on Instagram. The link is below in the description. See you next time. Bye. Ciao.